by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Bing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Inspiration, brave action, and heartwarming journeys. This is what the Louise H. Reed Show brings you. Now, here's your host, Louise H. Reed.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me this wonderful Tuesday. I am your host, Louise H. Reed. With listeners in over 145 countries and millions of iTunes downloads and ongoing podcasts, I'm here live every Tuesday to talk life and leadership with everyday people doing extraordinary things. People like our guest today who take brave, bold action in pursuit of their dreams and goals and are here to share their journey to help you do the same in yours. Regular listeners hear me say there is nothing more valuable than time. So as a way of showing my gratitude to you, my loyal listeners, for listening each week, whenever you comment on a podcast episode, with the hashtag LadyBossLoyalty, you'll automatically be entered into a draw to win exclusive Lady Boss Loyalty swag. So please comment away on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, or LinkedIn, and we'll see who the next winner is. Now, on to today's guest. I've got an amazing guest for you today. Her name, Jacqueline Camacho-Ruiz. How do I say that, Jacqueline?
Ruiz, you got it.
I got it. There we go. Jacqueline is an award-winning entrepreneur, international speaker, philanthropist, and author of many, many books. She is founder of the Fig Factor Foundation, focused on unleashing the amazing in young Latinas, and is the creator of the Today's Inspired Latina book series, an international movement. Jacqueline is a regular guest on local and national TV, radio, and print publications. She's been featured in Forbes, CBS World News, ESPN, CBS in the Morning, Univision, and many others. She has received over 20 awards for her business acumen and achievements around the world. Jacqueline has just launched her 11th book at a sold-out event with over 20 media representatives at the New York Times in New York. She also recently completed her second European tour through Amsterdam and Paris, and was featured on the cover of the European magazine Business Fit International, where she received the prestigious She Award for her global contribution of inspiration to women. A two-time cancer survivor, Jacqueline possesses wisdom about life as well, far beyond her years. And fun fact, she is one of the few Latina small airplane pilots in the US. So what a guest we have today, Jackie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an honor. I know we've been looking forward to this beautiful interaction of energy for a few weeks, and here we are.
And here we are. I know. I'm beyond. I know. That does. That deserves a little salsa, a little dance.
Yeah, I think it's something. It's just like if you have the happiness inside. It's just like it takes you places.
It does, hey, it really does. And I have to say, I love how you've even just brought that up and brought that out and had that shine in the first few moments of speaking on the show, because what I just read is ridiculously impressive. But when you and I connected and spoke, and I could see both your head and your heart, like your soul shone through in such a professional and confident and grounded and engaging way, and in a very we united right away, like our souls talked and touched. You've got a really special gift, and that I knew when I saw and I heard and I felt that I had to have you on the show.
Thank you. What an honor. I mean, I think that everything begins with your positivity, and the positivity begins from your heart. I mean, it's something that irradiates to the world. And we choose every single day to exchange our energies, our ideas, our creativity, our knowledge, to be able to advance and create collaboration and synergies with other people. And that's what we're doing here today. And I'm beyond honored that you invited me to be on the show. And Cannot wait to share.
Okay, so let's do this. So, what did little girl Jackie want to be when she grew up? I'm sure it wasn't all of these things on the list. So I'd love to sort of just journey back there, and then explore how you became this incredible adult, because you must have been an incredible young child as well. So take us back there. What did young Jackie want to be?
It's an interesting question. I think that I think all of the magic begins in your family, and when people around you believe in you, because a lot of times when you're young, you don't know that you have magic inside of you. You have no idea what your contribution to the world will be. But I remember early on, I've always been very inquisitive. I would literally look at a chair and deconstruct it and then build it back again in my mind. I said, well, a human mind builds it. They conceptualize it, they create it in their mind, and then they build it. So I can do the same thing because I have a brain. I have, the ability to think the same way. So I've always deconstructed and reconstructed things in my mind, and that inquisitive nature has allowed me to see things totally from a different perspective. I started reading when I was 4, and I didn't remember that. All I remember is that my life has been filled with books, and books that I oftentimes had no idea what they meant. Napoleon Hill was talking about the act of the mastermind concept, and I was like, wow, that sounds like brain surgery. As a little girl, I didn't understand what it meant. And Dale Carnegie, yes, I've read that. I don't know, probably my most read book in the world. And I was fascinated at how he took 20 years to interview the top leaders of the world, particularly in the United States. And then he came back with 13 different characteristics of success. And to me, that was a great equalizer. To me, that was a great equalizer to achieving dreams. I'm like, well, I clearly have a lot of disadvantage. I come from a poor family. I was born at a place that wasn't necessarily super conducive to big things like I wanted to, create, or I didn't have a lot of the resources necessarily or the support. And I'm like, how do I do that? What's the great equalizer? What's the way that I can leverage the opportunities that I have? And for me, it became reading. Reading allows you to transport yourself to places that you never imagined that existed. So it became my mission as a young girl to apply as many things as I could apply, as many things that as I understood. Because right. Dale Carnegie also would say, oh, make it all about other people. I'm like, I thought I was the most important person on the planet. I mean, I'm the youngest, the young girl, like a spoiled little brat. Like, I'm it. And I realized that I wasn't, unfortunately. But that was my childhood, always inquisitive about a lot of things and dreaming bigger than as big as I could absorb.
And actually, what an amazing story and insight into little Jackie and into grown-up Jackie, because that kind of curiosity doesn't go away. And that certainly helps to give a little bit of insight into how you have achieved what you have achieved, because that's a hunger, isn't it? It's like a hunger in your soul when you're curious and you seek to master. So talk us through then, how some of the challenges then that you overcame during those early years. And I'm really interested in understanding how you used your mind, because that's where it starts, isn't it? How you used your mind to choose the right action, to get enough momentum to move in a positive direction.
You know what? I'll take you back to an early evening in the hometown that we used to live. We had just moved from the biggest city in the world, Mexico City, to a really small town with 6,000 people. And I was about to enter the home that had almost been extinguished by fire because somebody provoked the fire. And the only thing I can think of is my books, not my toys. I was only 11 years old. Not my toys, not anything. It's just my books, because my books would take me to places that I could only imagine in my dreams. So walking into that place and feeling the heat of the fire and seeing it like a movie, I remember it was the first time that I think I exercised this idea of being positive, because by all measures, I looked around and everything around me was devastating. I mean, it was like a horror movie that I was stepping into, and my mom, my brother, and I walked in, hugging each other to see what the damage was, and I got a little spark in my heart, and that first time that I ever felt the light in the middle of the devastation. And that light for me was, well, guess what? I have read all these amazing books. They are already part of my life. They are part of my existence. All I have to do now, and even more so because 80% of them were burnt in the fire, I need to make these principles come to life. And that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on becoming a living and breathing example that no matter where you come from, if Napoleon Hill made that happen, and if Bill Carnegie made that happen, and Osmandino made it happen, I could make it happen too. And I'm going to be devoted to these core values and principles. And that's the first time that I saw the beautiful light in my heart that basically created the precedence of all the beautiful things that I see. And that's, you know, in the core, that's my essence. I see, even if I see a piece of poop, I look at it and I say, there must be a seed. And out of that seed, there must be a beautiful tree that will, with time and due diligence and love, will grow to become something amazing. And that's what I see. And it takes me back to when I was 11 years old. That was the first time that I saw beauty and I saw a light in the darkness.
Wow. That's all I can say for that. Truly, truly incredible. I know that story will have touched listeners. And my question for you is this, in follow-up to that beautiful story. So thank you for sharing that. I think that, you know, you were 11 and obviously very, very gifted and connected with your soul to have such insight at that age. It takes, I think, people find that insight at different stages in their life. And so for someone listening who senses that light, who knows, oh my gosh, I have that light, I see that light, but I don't know what to do next. What guidance do you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that something that has been reconfirmed right now with a course that I'm taking called Leadership's Calling, about leadership and about how you, with two things, enable and inspire people. And I think that all of us have that capacity, but there's only one way that you can begin activating the light that you might see or feel in your heart. And that is two ways based on this course and based on what I've always believed in, which is your actions and behaviors. If you are aligned with your core values and if you know where you come from and where you position the top priorities of your life, then you must allow your actions and behaviors to lead and offer the way. So if you have a divine download, as I call them, if you have, you know, I don't no longer say hard work, you know, preceding you, I say heart work.
Wow.
Because it begins with that, with your heart. And I have been planting seeds for my whole life, and all of us have that ability to grasp onto those things that bring us love. Like my daughter says, make your heart beep, and then take action so that your actions and behaviors lead the way and then allow other people to see clearly what you believe in. That's the only way to show that. You can't say, well, I value your relationship, and if I don't do anything about it, anything to show you that I truly care about you, and the only way to see that is through my actions and behaviors. So I think we need to become very aware of our feelings, our emotions, to allow ourselves to self-analyze and self-manage and understand that our actions and behaviors are the only way that we can show people what we really truly believe in. and what we're all about.
Wow. Beautiful. So take us back to that 11-year-old Jackie who had found that spark in her heart. And walk us through then how you started to embark on your professional journey with this light in your soul and truly a heart and head connection as you navigated life. Walk us through sort of what came next for you.
You know, what's interesting is that the following few weeks after the fire, my family and I had to move to a very small room that my dad had built for my uncle as his little home. And, my uncle had passed away, and that was the only place that we could stay while we fixed up the house. And this is something that I don't share with a lot of people, but for probably 6 months to a year after the fire, I used to go to a private school with nuns. Every single day, somehow ashes would show up and would be on my face, like a mark of ash on my face or on my arm or my uniform. And it was a constant reminder. And to me, I mean, that was, when we live in this world where we are surrounded by negative stimuli, and we take all that stimuli, all the things that people say, and internalize it and make up the person that we are, we're doing it wrong. Because it is when we have to internalize and we have to go inside and say, who am I? Even if on the outside, I'm only 11. I mean, I can't show the people what I believe in and that I want to make a difference in the world, that I want to change the world. I only know how I feel. I need time. I need people to believe in me so I can show what I'm really, truly made of. But for that, I need time. I need to become an adult and I need to become autonomous. And for me, I used to always tell my mom since I was 5 that I had something inside. I couldn't explain it. I'm like, Mom, I feel something here. Like, I feel like happiness. I want to change the world. And she'd be like, I don't know if there's medicine for that. Like, I don't know, what do I deal with? So I deal with this little girl that has like bigger than life aspirations. Came to the States when I was 14, didn't speak a word of English when I came. And, of course, internalizing and reading and rereading his books and checking in. I'm like, am I doing what he said? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? And then, little did I know that when I was 21, as I was diagnosed with cancer for the first time, every emotion and every resilience, every strength of my body and my mind and my heart and that I've been building up was going to be tested. And both doctors, even when I was 23 and I was diagnosed with pre-cancer by my liver, that really was the episode that changed my life, as I had my entire digestive system reconstructed, because I was born with something very rare, unbeknownst to me, that happens out of 150,000 people in this part of the world. And it was pre-cancer level 4 by my liver. It was a death sentence. I would have never known that I had it. But I started my company, went to an Indian restaurant, embraced their culture, ate an Indian spice. It triggered a whole bunch of different symptoms, hospitalized for 2 weeks, 40 doctors. No one knew what I had until 2 weeks later, they figured out that I was born with this rare condition that is very common in young Japanese girls. I didn't know that I was connected to the Japanese culture. As it turns out, I'm 18% Asian. According to a DNA study. So
Ancestry DNA.
Everything is connected, right? But both doctors said to me in different occasions that what saved me was my positive attitude. Now, how beautiful is that? That the mind can be the precursor, the force of nature that allows you to see that seed inside that pile of poop. And you can see the beauty of what is to become with time and core values and resilience. And what the interesting thing is that I connected to one of the top franchises of Dale Carnegie in the world 18 years later, since the time that I read the first book. And they hired me to do their marketing and PR, strategic marketing and all that. So I did that for them. I took several courses, including the top course they have, which is a leadership course. 35 CEOs picked me unanimously after 8 weeks of working together on this course as the person that represented the Dale Carnegie principles the most. And I was given this beautiful golden book encapsulated in a crystal cube as a gift that you can't buy anywhere, you can't get anywhere, you can't earn. Like, you have to be chosen by your fellow CEOs to be able to get this award. And for me, what do you say when that happens, when it's a little girl that has been dreaming about applying these principles since she was little, and to be chosen because of your actions and behaviors? So it's a little journey that sort of comes back full circle and allows other people to be inspired as well.
And I think that's all you can say. You share your story as you're doing today and as you have been doing, because that light, you're passing that light on. You're passing that light on. What do you say to those who, whether under your own leadership, because I know you have your own business and a variety of initiatives underway to support Latinas, female Latinas. What do you say to aspiring leaders?
Well, lots of things, but I think one of the main things is that your positive attitude is your gift. It's your gift to the world. Your positivity infuses your actions. Your positivity allows you to see the possibilities when you're speaking with someone, allows you to think about them and their best interest rather than your own ego. And it's, I always tell them too, to intensify gratitude during difficult times, and that no one can take away what you've accomplished. So you have to keep accomplishing. I think that compound effect of accomplishing things with intention. I always say that, there are two types of activities you can do every day. One, those that are mundane, like I did the dishes today. I mean, that's part of my contribution to the world. Unfortunately, it doesn't last till tomorrow. It doesn't really transcend, right? But that's my contribution. But I always bucketize, that, and also a thing that I know will transcend. I know that if I work on a concept of a book today, when I wake up tomorrow, I'll be closer to the manifestation of that book. And that's how I've accomplished 14 books in 10 years with intention and following my divine downloads and being relentless in the compound effect of daily activity that leads to the manifestation of something. And you just don't give up until you see it manifested. Some books have taken me 3 months. Some books have taken me 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. Time is irrelevant when it's aligned with the manifestation of who you are and who you're meant to be in this world. It's completely relevant.
During all of these achievements, these books that you've written, have you come face to face with fear?
Every day. Every day. And it makes me emotional. Every day I pray to God to please allow me to be a leader that is graciously able to maneuver difficult situations so that everyone involved can be elevated. That's my prayer every single morning. And, aviation, every time I get up there, there are moments that I'm scared. Turbulence, unexpected wind shear, unexpected heat bubbles that, raise up, especially with a 2-seater, little plane. You feel everything and you really become one with the air, with the wind, with the elements, and in a 3-dimensional space where you're not touching the ground. And that is very humbling. So every day as I embark on making big decisions for my companies, as I embark on a new trip where I'm about to inspire somebody on the other side of the world, that fear is always there, but I embrace it. I wipe off my tears and I said, let's take off again. Let's take off again and let's do this. And I've had a lot of moments like that, and I always do. But that keeps me humble. It keeps my feet on the ground. It keeps me grounded, and it keeps me real, because what I've accomplished, most of the time I don't remember what I've accomplished because I'm focused today on the clarity of what my mission is, which is to elevate women. And all my activities go through that test of how is this elevating women, and how is this aligning with people that are authentic and have integrity and transparency? And how do I not align with the people that are not? And leaving behind, because I'm not about, if the core values don't match, I cannot live in my purpose and enjoy. And therefore I can't be and let those ideas flow so I can be the best version of myself.
So beautifully said. And I just want to echo or repeat something that I thought was a little gem. And then you said, wipe the tears and let's take off again. I love the realness of that. I asked that question about fear. I knew the answer would be yes. So thank you for being honest, which I knew you would be. I think we look at others. It's so easy to see the outside success of others. We can't see their inside and know some of the inner turmoil that they may experience in their head and their heart as they're chasing these big goals and dreams. And so I think it's always refreshing to hear how people like yourself, how you actually navigate those feelings of fear. So thank you for sharing that. I want to stay on this theme of flying. Why a pilot? Like, I think that's incredible. But where did this come from?
Well, the actual story is that, there's several little stories that lead to that, because nothing is just like, it just appeared, right?
True.
But I was doing an event for my 7th book one evening, and I knew that I had the date set up for this event, and I get invited by the United States Army to do a keynote at an island to 300 soldiers. It's on the Mississippi River on the border of Illinois and Iowa. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a wonderful invitation. And of course, I can't say no to the U.S. Army. At that point, I was doing marketing for the aviation school. Now, never did I ever imagine or think of becoming a pilot. But I was in the dilemma of, I can't miss my event that evening, but I can't say no to the U.S. Army. And the only way that I can make it happen is through the power of aviation. So I called my client and I said, I need a ride to this island so that I can do this keynote, right? And of course, they were all paying me thousands of dollars. I mean, it was like the magical, most amazing thing. Went to the airport, flew me over there in like half the time, no traffic. Got to the private side of the airport. I got picked up by a sergeant, taken over 5 minutes to an island, met a 6'7", 3-star general at this island. I did a 10-minute keynote. So I got a raise because originally it was 30 minutes, and got a cone of excellence by the U.S. Army, did several TV and radio and all kinds of interviews, standing ovation by 300 soldiers and civilians at this beautiful island. Drove me back. I got inside a little sports car, made it to my 2nd event on time, and I said, holy moly, like, this is unbelievable. And it was my inquisitive nature since I was a little girl to investigate more, because I'm like, wow, I just, one of those days that you're like, I cannot believe this just happened. Like, wow. So I started investigating sectionals, which is the 3D maps. And one day as I was driving, I literally got the divine download. I said, I'm going to be a pilot, and I had tears in my eyes. Now, do you think I understood why I had that feeling, that intensity, because you all have ideas, but when you get a divine download, it's something that is personalized for you, for the ecosystem, for the environment, for whatever you're living, and it's a calling to you. That feeling in your heart that you must do it, it cannot be ignored. That's like your GPS, right? So I started the journey. Never did I think it was going to be the most difficult thing in my life. My brain has expanded 25% in order to absorb 49 areas of aviation, and to be able to maneuver the plane, to become one with the plane, to become the pilot in command and the captain of the plane, and to make sure that my teddy bear, Amelia, lands safely every time. I have, over 300 landings, and over 100 hours of flight, that I've earned on my logbook. I've started a Pilotina scholarship, and there are now 6 women that are getting or pursuing their license because I got to take in flying. So My Latina bow. Ooh.
Yeah. You are just one incredible woman. I know I've said that already. I love how you are so grounded in what you do, right? You're talking about your love and passion for learning, your inquisitive nature, your curiosity, and your love for books, and your desire to use the information and apply the information that you read, because knowledge is only useful if you put it to use. And then at the same time, so you're this really grounded in this physical world that we exist within, and yet you're so soulful and able to stay connected with the whispers of your own heart. That's a real challenge. How do you, I don't even know the question here, but what's your take on how you're able to navigate the two? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Asking?
Yeah.
Like the intersection of the two, because it's really easy, I think, to stay in your head. We live very much in a head world. And we need our heads. Absolutely. I'm not suggesting that we should go the opposite extreme. I don't think we live enough in our heart. I think finding that happy blend of the two can be the challenge, though.
Yeah, I think the magic really happens when the aspirations of what do I want to do with my life? Like, if I could dream big, what would that look like? Anytime that you intercept that with sort of the left brain, sort of, strategic, pragmatic, and you're adjoining them, right? That's where the spark is. Your mission is to make sure that those two sparks make a big spark. And I see it in aviation. Zooming in, when you're on the ground, you're in the ground, you're doing all this stuff, you're zoomed in. But when you're up there, even at 3, 5, 7,000 feet, you're zooming out to see what is happening. So another one of the missions is zooming in and zooming out and having this beautiful balance, understanding that you cannot be a robot by just executing and executing and executing. If you don't take those intercepts of, peeling yourself away so that you can see the progress that you've made and you can connect back to the why, you will run out, you will burn out. And at the same token, you've all met people that say, oh, I have a dream, I'm going to make this happen. And they never take the first step. That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. If you get a divine download, if you know that you're aligned with that, if you don't take one step, it's like, okay, I got no time for that. Let's continue on, because I am constantly zooming in and zooming out, executing intentionally. And for me, going back to what I said, it's about your positive attitude, because when you do, magic begins to flow and those ideas flow. And something to put into perspective, I know that we live in a very incredible world of overwhelming information. I know that. And that doesn't help the fact that we want to connect to ourselves and the magic of our hearts. To put it in perspective, in 1970, people like you and I wasn't born then, but people that were in this world, I don't know if you were.
I wasn't born then either, no.
Right, okay, awesome. For those people who were born in 1970, imagine every day as they conducted their daily lives, they were essentially connected or exposed to 500 touch points. Now, touch points is anything that has a logo or a brand on it. You look around, you see the ketchup, you see the billboard, you see everywhere. Fast forward to 2017, this is 2 years ago, people are now exposed to over 30,000 touch points. Now imagine what that represents, not only from the marketing perspective, but imagine what that represents in our life. We are constantly being bombarded by all these things, and oftentimes the priorities of other people become yours because that's what you're getting. And the fires that you're putting out, and this needs to be responded immediately, especially with the phone and all the technology. If they send you a text message, you better respond within 5 minutes. Otherwise, they're calling your mom, your aunt, your children to see where are you, what's happening to you, right? So we have this sense of urgency. And what it takes to connect to yourself is, number one, cognitively and intentionally always remembering that nothing that you do or people that you associate or situations that you're involved in are more valuable than your happiness and your joy. So you always have to go back to the joy. If you wake up in the morning feeling joyful and things are flowing and things are happening, and you're like, yeah, let's do this. And then all of a sudden by, let's say, 10 o'clock, something happens. Joy is not flowing anymore. You gotta stop right there and go back and recount and analyze and say, between 8 and 10, something happened that took away my joy. Because I know that if I'm not in joy, I cannot operate. I'm going to let fear, indecision, and doubt, which are the three enemies that Napoleon Hill said that will keep you away from success, take over. And you can't let that. So if I have any sort of a satisfaction in my heart or something, I go back and say, was it an email? Was it a conversation? Was it something that someone said? Was it the fact that I ruined my shirt that I wanted to wear today and now I have to wear something yellow instead of something blue? What was it? Because a lot of times it's minutia. But if we don't intercept it, we end up the entire day thinking, oh my God. I mean, I literally interacted and I had encounters with other people and I made their life miserable because my energy wasn't aligned. And I let that happen. So always going back, intercepting those moments so that you can constantly be flowing. That doesn't say that you ignore the issues. Some days are horrible days or moments, right? Where you're like, oh my God, this happened. But you go back and you see the beauty in those moments too. You intensify your gratitude. And most importantly, you get back to the center. And then you can continue to create your next business idea and make a lot of money.
Yes, because it's about all of those things. I so much value in what you just shared there, and the thing that I want to just touch on that I most appreciate, I think, about that is how you're really framing what a positive mindset looks like. I think there are some misconceptions about what that is, and it means that you're positive all the time, and it means that you ignore the bad things that happen, and that's not what having a positive attitude means at all. So I think that you just gave a lot of extra color and flavor and meaning to having a positive outlook.
Yeah.
How do you start your day, or is that a big part of your day in terms of like any rituals or routines or habits to set you up for success?
Yes. My perfect day starts out with working out and then followed with a intentional session of journaling where I either do affirmations, gratitude, recap of the week and the accomplishments, capturing divine downloads and people that I want to thank or any idea that are sort of flowing in my heart, and then a green juice. So that would be my perfect, and I try to do that as much as I can. And, going back a little bit to what you said with I'm having a difficult moment, a difficult day or whatever, I never have difficult days because they're more like moments because I nip them in the bud and I just kind of go back and say, okay, how do I fix that? And how do I strip out the emotion? But one of the first things that I do, and even throughout the day as a routine, is someday I'm having a difficult moment, I literally take out my journal and I start writing my gratitude. What am I grateful for? And it might seem counterproductive, like, oh, why are you just being grateful for? But it gets me back into the joy mode and it gives me the clarity so I can, fix that situation. So I carry my journal with me, and that's part of my daily routine to capture those moments and to, not that they happen every day, but when things are overflowing of happiness and joy, when you have a difficult moment, a difficult encounter, I always use my journal as a partner in crime to get back to the center.
I love how you share that example. I too have journals. I have an evidence journal and I keep a gratitude journal as well. And I love my evidence journal for the reason you're saying, if there is a moment or a day that might be I'm not feeling as successful, or I don't feel like I'm making the achievements that I making a difference that I want to be making, or I'm not achieving the things as fast as I want to be achieving them, taking pause and then reflecting on the goodness of what others have sent to me. I've actually got it right in front of me here. So those who are actually watching on either YouTube or watching live on Facebook, there's like my evidence. I put happy things.
I love it.
People send me cards, and I print out emails. And this is that reminder, is that you were saying it gets you grounded and centered and focused on my mission, and that I am on the actions that I'm taking each day that do make a difference in the world. And so whether it's evidence journal, whether it's the gratitude, I think both have their place. And so thank you for sharing yours, and thank you for giving me that moment to show my evidence journal as well. So if any listeners have ever sent me anything, your email is probably in my evidence journal. So thank you for being part of that. Do you have a personal motto or sort of mantra that you can kind of take a deep breath and get really grounded and rooted, say if you're in a meeting or in a moment where you might not be able to pull out that journal to get grounded and rooted?
Yeah, I think the one that I've been using lately quite a lot, that sort of keeps me literally grounded, is in aviation we have a phrase that goes like this: every takeoff is optional, but every landing is mandatory. And I kind of use this mantra of, every time that I'm flying and every time that I work on a project, every time that I'm in a meeting, my goal is to land on that dream. My goal is not to start it, not to start a project, but really to land on that vision of that dream. And that keeps me grounded, both as a pilot and as a business owner, as a mom, a wife, all these different roles, not just the two, but that I would say has been one of my biggest mantras as of late.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that one. There's this idea of, work-life balance, which I remember searching for many years and felt so relieved when I decided one day that it doesn't exist. I suddenly felt like weights had been lifted off me. Yet I do think that there is a blend that one has to find. Can you talk to us about how you have navigated that as this really amazing woman, human being, wife, mother, pilot, all these dreams and goals, and yet all of these competing demands, which are all joyful, but how do you navigate all of that?
I think I agree with you. I mean, balance doesn't exist, but integration does. And I think that we all have seasons in our lives where we focus on certain things more than others. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier, and what I've really embodied from this course that I'm taking, Leadership's Calling, is that you need to, as a leader, allow yourself to self-analyze and self-manage, right? Because when you do that, then you can look at all the components of the magic of your life and the fabric of your life, and then embody the context of what is happening, the seasonality of your life, and then be able to place with your actions and behaviors the priorities where they need to be. So integration doesn't exist, and balance doesn't exist, but integration exists, where you say, you know what, I am whole and I'm one in all the facets of my life. So one of the ways that I explain that to people when they say, oh my God, you are an international speaker, you're going to be in 6 countries in the next 3 months, you're doing all this stuff, you're a mom, 9 and 13-year-old, you're a wife, and you have 2 businesses, 2 nonprofits, you all this stuff. You know what? Yes, I do. They're the byproduct of my essence and my mission, which is to elevate women and to be a servant leader. So anything that I do goes back to the center, and I happen to integrate it and compartmentalize as I need to. And then I use a lot of different techniques like planning. Brian Tracy said that for every minute that you plan, you save 10 minutes at least on the execution of that plan. So on a Sunday evening, I'll find myself planning with colors, with 0.38 millimeter pens, and visualizing every interaction and every encounter that I'll have so I can maximize that. You'll find me doing and strategizing with whatever I need to do to maximize my time. you'll find myself with, I find myself doing stuff with my children or taking friends, flying. So any role that you embody and that you embrace and that you execute, always make sure that you go back to a core of why you are doing all those roles, so that not only does that allow you to be more intentional in every one of those roles as you're executing them, but it allows you to also be able to say no to the things that don't match up to your mission and your why. And so that's how I do it. I mean, is it perfect? Absolutely not. Are there days where I'm exhausted and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I can't believe that I booked myself for 3 keynotes in a week, Yes, of course. Are there days where I wish I was, I was more with my kids rather than working at 11 o'clock at night? Of course. But I understand that, I embody that, and I do my best because I know that things are manifesting constantly and people are showing up and saying, how do I help? And that's the blessing, I think, of living an intentional life.
Wow. What does success mean to you, or how would you define success in your life?
Oh, wow. It's a very interesting question because a lot of people measure that with money, with, assets, with things that you have. And I have been blessed to have all of those things. I measure my business and personal success based on 2 elements: how profitable I am and how impactful I am. Again, going to the polarities of how you unite those two. Being profitable allows me to buy condos, allows me to, have a Latina mobile, wrap it in purple so that I can, give an incredible experience. It allows me to fly, truthfully. But being impactful allows me to make a difference and to know that if I die today, I know that I touched at least one soul today. And that, to me, living with transcendence and living with intention is very, very important to me. But I think both are needed, the left and the right brain, zooming out and zooming in, magic and pragmatism, and then being profitable and also being impactful.
Wow. So concisely and well said. And, through life that you've experienced so far, what would you say is your biggest lesson that you would like to share with others?
I've been on this planet for 36 years. Wow. And I keep learning every day. I'm humbling learning every single day to embrace my shortcomings, my flaws, but then also embrace the beauty of my heart. I think the biggest lesson is that if somebody would have said to me what a mentor just recently said to me about 2 months ago, my mentor, Lori Hilton, I probably would have done so much more to date. It's hard to believe, but yes, I probably would have. And that is, you are destined for greatness. Mm. Like those words coming out of a business Hall of Famer, coming out of somebody that has achieved so much like Lori Hilton, and genuinely said, authentically said, literally touched every cell of my body. And I came home a couple months ago and I told my husband, you are not going to believe this. Lori told me that I was destined for greatness. And I'm like, and guess what? You're married to me, so we are destined for greatness. And I was like, wow, like a switch. And I then began to really act as if though I was destined for greatness. And all my actions pointed to being destined for greatness. All my, shortcomings, the actions, behaviors, the connections, and the way that I showed up as if though, hey, it's a done deal. I'm destined for greatness. Like, wow. So that is the biggest lesson that I can share with your audience, with you, with anyone that has an ounce of doubt of whether or not you deserve the most beautiful things that life has to offer. The abundance, the opportunities, the connections, the synergies, the projects, the ability to fly or do whatever you want to do. If it's skydiving, if it's, which I will probably never do, but don't quote me on that. I will fly the plane for people to jump off and that's do that. But all that, to know and recognize in your heart that you are destined to be great, to be great, for greatness. That to me was the biggest thing that I've embodied and embraced, and I want to share that with the world.
What a wonderful share. I remember one of my first coaches said to me, show up as if. So show up as the coach you want to be. Show up as the leader you want to be. Show up as the parent you want to be. And you often need to do that before you're actually ready. And so I think that's a perfect, you share that, that beautiful quote from your mentor, you're destined for greatness, in such a compelling, energetic and passionate way. So we have now come to the end of our time together, but I cannot end this without giving you and asking you to share with us how people can reach you, whether it's for a keynote, whether it's for marketing services that you may offer. Tell us how people can best get in touch with you.
Well, the beauty of the connectedness of the world is that we can intercept each other's energy in a variety of different ways. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Jacqueline Camacho. Probably that's my most complete profile of all the amazing things that are happening in this part of the world. And also Facebook, Jacqueline Author or Jacqueline Camacho. And then Instagram, I wanted to do something a little bit more fun, and that's Pilotina, which is Pilot plus Latina all together, Pilotina_official. And that's a little bit more of my flying adventures.
I love it. So I'll include those in the show notes as well, so people can easily find you. Jackie, this has been an absolute joy. You have shared your light with me and with all of my listeners today. And I have had a rough couple of days, and I cannot tell you how meaningful your light has been to my heart right now. So thank you on a very, very personal, deep level. You've really touched me and moved me. So thank you.
Thank you.
And of course,
fly together.
Yes. And of course, thank you as well to all of you, my loyal listeners and followers. I remind you that information about my radio show and my guests can be found at louisehreed.com. Also, as always, a big shout out to my producer, Cameron Steele. Lots of gratitude to you at Contact Talk Radio Network. I'd like to leave you with one of my favorite quotes. Be bold enough to use your voice, brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to live the life you've always imagined. And finally, I think it's most appropriate to leave you with what Jackie just shared with us. You are destined for greatness. Until next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm Louise H. Reed, wishing all of you an amazing day. Goodbye, friends.